by what we read in the Torah. Of course, since the Torah is the center of the world, that's what Rashi tells us in the beginning of the Torah, the world was created. So what we read in the Torah at the time, this affects the Zman. When we read these Parshiyot, now we are reading specifically the portions of the Torah that deal with exile and redemption. And the definition, Nachmanides, the Ramban gives a definition of redemption. Because what is the end of Sefer Shmos? The last pasuk in Sefer Shmos, let's see if it's correct. See what it says over here. Okay. The last, the pasuk Shmos begins with Am Yisrael coming to Egypt. How does it end? Ki anan Hashem ala mishkon yoimon ve'esh tiyeh layla boy ve'eni kol beis Yisrael hasem. The cloud of the Shekhinah was on the Mishkan in the day, and a pillar of fire guided them in all their travels. This is the last verse. In different words, we call the book of Shmos the book of names, and the Ramban gives it another name. The Ramban calls the book of Shmos Sefer HaGolut v'Hagula, the book of exile and redemption. In a certain sense, if we want to synthesize our name, the Ramban's name, we can say that the way the Golus is all about the way to exist in Golus. Let's put it this way: the key to redemption in Golus is about identity. Golus is a place, exile is a place where your identity is challenged. And the gula, to be a redeemed, even in the state of exile, is to be true to your identity. Shmais b'nei Yisrael. And Chazal tell us that one of the reasons why Am Yisrael was zeicha, were merited to be redeemed, was because shelo shinu shmaisom. They didn't change their names. Ruvain Nachti, Ruvain Salki. They went to Mitzrayim as Ruvain. They came out of Mitzrayim as Ruvain. On a deeper level, not to change your name is your identity. On a deeper level, it means not to change your name, means not to change your identity. In other words, to remain true to your responsibility and duty in this world, not to be influenced by external pressures or whatever they may be, external influences which come to shift you away from your purpose and sense of goals. To goals is to be shifted from one's goal. Of course, the goal is a bad goal, it's good to be shifted away. But to know what the true goal of a Jew is, which is to make known the kingdom of Hashem, and that's through the kingdom, the fulfillment of Torah and mitzvahs. And golus is when a person allows himself to be shifted from those goals, he's in golus, he's in exile. Shmais is to remain true to your identity. And here I want to allow myself, perhaps it's poetic license, maybe there's something to it or not. The Baal HaTurim brings down that Am Yisrael was redeemed from Egypt in the schus of two mitzvahs that they kept. So, which two mitzvahs? In Mitzrayim they kept Shabbos. And he says it's hinted in the last letters. Es Eile Shmos b'nei Yisrael haboim Mitzrayim Es Yaakov Ish. The last letters of Es Yaakov Ish. Es Yaakov Ish. What are the last letters? Tav, Es, Yaakov, Beis, Ish, Shin. And if you write it backwards, it makes the famous word Shabbos. On the other hand, if you look at before, B'shmais b'nei Yisrael haboim. B'nei Yisrael haboim Mitzrayim. Let's take the last letters of B'nei Yisrael haboim Mitzrayim. B'nei Yisrael, that's Yud and Lamed. Haboim, Mem, Mitzrayim, Hey. I apologize for putting you through the effort to play Scrabble. It's a little bit irritating. If you have those four letters, which word can you make? B'nei Yisrael. The last letters. B'nei Yisrael, that's Yud and Lamed. Haboim, Mem, Mitzrayim. Hey. So, Yud Lamed Mem Hey. Mila. So we have here Mila and Shabbos. So B'schut, says the Balaturim, B'schut, the fulfillment of mitzvahs Mila and Shabbos, Am Yisrael was redeemed from Egypt. That's what the Torah is hinting over here in these last letters. Now, what I want to say, Shabbos begins with which letter? Shin. And Mila begin Mem. So Shabbos and Mila are connected, that make together which were Shem, identity. Shabbos and Mila are the identity of the Jew. B'schus, that they didn't lose their identity, they had their own identity, they didn't become swallowed up into Egyptians, they didn't become assimilated, and that's what kept them separate, Shabbos and Mila. What's outstanding with these two mitzvahs? These two mitzvahs are called Brit. We have 613 mitzvahs. And all the 613 mitzvahs together represent, we have a bris on the whole Torah. But not every mitzvah is in itself called a Brit. But we have Brit Milah, we don't have to talk about Brit Milah. I'm going today to a Brit, right? Brit means Milah. And how do we say about Shabbos? V'shamru b'nei Yisod Shabbos, v'asayt Shabbos v'diroisov, Brit Hiu, Brit Hiu. Whatever, I don't remember now. How does it say?
Brit Olam.
What?
Brit Olam.
Brit Olam. The Torah says it's a Brit. And what's the proof that it's a Brit? A guy, if he makes Brit Milah, even in Halach, it's not called a Brit Milah, because he doesn't have a bris with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And unlike other mitzvahs, it says, is a guy allowed to rest on Shabbos? No. And we say it in the davening. And we say it on Shabbos morning. HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not give this present to those that are Oived Avodah Zarah. Although in Chalto Makenu L'Goyei Harotzim. Getting everything. Lead us to the 1 second. Sorry. Apologize.
That's in
mixing up.
Musa, right? Musa?
No. Chakras. Chakras. Let's see. So we'll learn a little bit Chakras, Tefillah, and Shabbos, by the way. Let's see. What does it say? No lava or yom.
I thought it was in Musa. Maybe it's in Yom.
Getting everything. Oh. V'lo nesato, sorry. V'lo nesato Yashem Elokeinu l'goyei harotzos. Before that we have V'shomu b'nei Yisrael Shabbos, Lasois Shabbos, Bris Olam. He said right. And then the next one is V'lo nesato Yashem Elokeinu l'goyei harotzos. He didn't give it to the nations of the world because it's a Brit. That means it unites us. It's our identity. If the guy keeps Shabbos, it's a defect in the identity of the Jew. Then it's not. It doesn't mean it's not unique to us. Identity is the definition. The identity is what's unique to you. Now, what does this mean? What is special? What is unique about these two mitzvahs? They're opposites.
One spiritual and one physical.
So it looks. But really, we'll talk about it. You're right. A person has two parts. We have mitzvahs where the purpose of the mitzvah is to reduce the influence of the material. It's against the material. It's Yisurim. And we have pain, suffering. Yes. And we have mitzvahs to the contrary. That the tachlis of the mitzvah is to sanctify the material, to use it for the Ratzon Hashem. It's not going against this world, it's using this world correctly.
Yosef said by the Mitzvah, he said everybody has to have bris milah before he gave you the food. It's supposed to be our bris, so what's telling the Mitzvah to do the bris?
That's a very good question. But
also they before
it's a pella. The emphasis it needs an explanation.
Shimon and Levi also they told him to do bris milah, and then also
there was all right.
There maybe they wanted to weaken them. Okay.
No, there they wanted to tell. They told them do bris milah. If you do bris milah, they meant do bris milah like we do bris milah with the whole bris of Torah mitzvahs, and then we all right. Then we could be with Gaia, but they didn't do it that way. They did it just the external. They did it like a guy. They didn't do it for bris. And Yosef, one of the reasons, we're getting off the subject, but one of the reasons of Yosef to tell them bris, the Rambam in Moreh Nevuchim gives a reason for bris milah. Of course, a mitzvah has many, many different reasons. But one of these says physically it reduces the physical pleasure of what this organ is connected with. So the Yosef had Tzaddik, he knew that Am Yisrael is going to have to be in Mitzrayim, so he wanted to reduce the environment. It shouldn't be so tamei, the environment, so he told them to do this milah to affect the environment around Am Yisrael, that they also shouldn't be in such a, to reduce the tumah, the dveikis, the attachment of Mitzrayim in this area. That's one of the reasons. But back to the point, that milah is about against the physical desires. And Shabbos is the opposite. Shabbos is to sanctify, to use the world of Olam Hazeh, but it can only be done on Shabbos. We have a mitzvah of Shabbos, b'kedusha. But it's interesting. So Milah is a mitzvah that we do against the guf, and Shabbos is a mitzvah that we do with the guf. Now, if we go back, Am Yisrael has two names. If we're already discussing this, Am Yisrael has two names. One is, we have in the pasuk. To go back to the first pasuk of the Sefer Shmos. Eile Shmos b'nei Yisrael haboyim Mitzrayim es Yaakov Yishu beis Avo. Am Yisrael came to Mitzrayim, and the house of Yaakov came to Mitzrayim. That sounds like double talk. What's the two things? Yisrael came to Egypt, and the house of Yaakov came to Egypt. We know that Yaakov had two names, right? One was Yaakov, one Yisrael. So let's analyze. What was the name Yaakov about, and what was the name Yisrael about? Why was he called Yaakov? Because Yodo Ochezes Ba'akei Esav. When he came out, he was holding on to the heel of Esav. Why was he called Yisrael? Because from the language of Sar, prince, victorious. He was victorious over an angel. So the name Yaakov is something that Yaakov did with his body, or was with his neshama? Body. The name Yisrael is neshama. Fighting for Malach, the neshama, right? The Kohen. So Yisrael represents a person is a compounded object. He has a guf, a physical body in this physical world, the earth, and he has a neshama from heaven. So the name Yisrael is referring to Nishmas Am Yisrael, the nefesh. The name Yaakov is the guf, right? So now like this, on which words is the word Milah written, and on which words is the word Shabbos written? We go back to the pasuk. B'nei Yisrael boy Mitzrayim is Milah. That's connected with the neshama. Why? So that's the... As Yaakov Ish is written, Shabbos is written with the guf. Why? So let's go. The Milah, because of the Milah, Am Yisrael is zoicha to a neshama. When the person needs suffering, his ma'atut, the difficulties in this world are put there to minimize the attachment of a person to this world. The neshama is a toshav, he's a citizen of this world, or is the neshama a guest in this world? Does he really fit into this world, the neshama? The neshama doesn't fit into this world. You know, there's an interesting, in Al Tzadikim, Rocha and Shemon Esrei, we pray for the Talmidei Chachamim, and we pray for the Geirei Tzedek. If you ever notice, go back to the Siddur.
Yeah.
You have in Al Tzadikim, so you have what?
Gary said that coming.
Plate the Seifreihem, the Seifrim of the Talmidei Chachamim, but Geri HaTzedek. So the Marami Prague explains what's the connection of Talmidei Chachamim with Geri. So he explains with Geri Tzedek, because he says the Talmid Chacham. What's the main thing in the Talmid Chacham? The main thing in the Talmid Chacham is his seichel, neshama, because he's Torah. And the seichel in this world is a ger. The seichel is a ger. He's a stranger in this world. This world doesn't fit the seichel. Doesn't have a place. The seichel comes from the neshama l'mala. Person is so the Talmid Chacham has a shutafut. He has a partnership with the ger, because he's a stranger in this world. His Iker is his Seichel, and the Seichel is not a Toshav, is not a citizen of this world. The Seichel is a guest in this world. In different words, the reduction of the body is Me'ir the Or HaNeshama. The Orla that you cut off by a Bris Milah is because that's the part of the guf that's not capable of receiving the Or of the Neshama. So Yisrael HaBa'im Milah. The Milah is because B'schus the Milah, Am Yisrael is called Am Yisrael. Maybe we'll go back one more step. I'm going not correctly. What is the double language of the pasuk? Am Yisrael in Egypt had a double exile. First of all, they were meshubad in ruchnius, in spiritually. Like the Mesilat Yesharim brings down, Paro, when they said they want to go serve Hashem. Oh, they're thinking about spiritual things. Tichbad ha'avodah al anoshim. Make them work harder. They shouldn't have time to think. So they were subjected spiritually. They were to push them away from any connection with Hashem. That was one purpose of Paro. And then physically they had hard labor. So when the pasuk says, if we read the very first pasuk of Shmos, the aspect of Yisrael, that means the spiritual aspect of Yisrael, was in exile. They were being challenged, the spiritual aspect. And the physical, the guf itself was being challenged, as Yaakov Yishubei Sargoyim. Now, the mitzvah of Milah, why were they zeicha to the Or HaNeshama, that their spirituality should come out of Egypt? That's b'schus the mitzvah of Milah, which brings out in the person the Or HaNeshama. The Milah, which is suffering, which is against the guf, where the guf is reduced, the Or HaNeshama is revealed. And why did they merit to be redeemed from the actual physical labor? As Yaakov Ishu Beisabo are the words as Yaakov Ish b'schus Shabbos, because they did a mitzvah of Shabbos. In different words, our mitzvahs are divided. Milah and Shabbos are a general principle which you can connect with the whole Torah. The mitzvahs of the Torah are divided into two parts. We have mitzvahs which are against the guf, in other words, against the Olam Hazeh, which limit us our connection with Olam Hazeh, and then we have mitzvahs which are to use the Olam Hazeh, but to use it for the Ratzon Hashem. Shabbos represents all the mitzvahs of using the guf for Ratzon Hashem. Milah represents all the mitzvahs which are against the guf. One needs both. Vasuli mikdash v'shachanti v'seichel. Through the fact, I'm taking this pasuk, the person has to build a sanctuary for Hashem in his heart. Vasuli mikdash v'shachanti v'seichel. Let's take these two words together. Let's learn this pasuk. Mikdash. Mikdash is from the word kedusha. What is kedusha? Kedusha means, where do you find kedusha? Kedusha is always the separation from Olam Hazeh. That's kedusha. The kohen, for example, has more forbidden women that he's allowed to marry, so it's called Isur, and the Mishnah calls it Isurei Kedusha. Am Yisrael's Kedoshim, because they have mitzvahs that the Goyim don't have. The Kohanim are more Kadosh, because they have more mitzvahs than Am Yisrael. That's Kedusha. Kedusha is against the guf. But then B'shachanti, Shachanti is to be a shochen. A shochen is not a say, who are you close to? Your neighbors. That's a shochen. The word B'shachanti, the Shechina, is the connection with Hashem. So if we read this pasuk, it says like this: Vasuli mikdash, make for me a mikdash, make for me a dwelling place. Where is the capacity for the Shechina to dwell? Where the person separates himself from the Olam Hazeh, he creates a spiritual dwelling. So mikdash is separation, v'shachanti is the opposite. By separating from Olam Hazeh, v'shachanti, you become close to Hashem. In other words, one is an act of drawing back, and the other one is an act of approaching Hashem. Vasuli mikdash v'shachanti. Mikdash is to separate, v'shachanti is to attach to Hashem. By separating, and so if you want, in a certain sense, Kedushas Shabbos depends on Milah. We have Sheshis and Me'amais, and then we have Shabbos. You can't use the Gashmias for a mitzvah unless you are separated a certain amount from the Gashmias. by the separation from the Gashmias, then you have a yad on the Gashmias, and you can turn it into a mitzvah. You need first the kedusha in order for the mitzvah of the achila to be the kedusha. You need a certain separation, and then you're using it as a tool for Hashem. So Shabbos is the offshoot of Milah. And these two mitzvahs are the identity of a Jew. If I go back, Shabbos Milah, we have mitzvahs, we separate from the guf, and then we use the guf as a tool. That's the identity of a Jew. Whereas the Goyim, the Umas HaOlam, are part of Olam Hazeh. They don't have this Asuli Mikdash V'Shachanti V'Soichem. They're not here to find it. They're not looking for an attachment with Hashem. All the Torah and mitzvahs are in order that we can make in our heart a Mikdash. That means we can separate ourselves from the Olam Hazeh, and then the Shachanti. Now the last pasuk. So the mitzvahs of Milah of Shabbos are in order that we live in our heart a Beis HaMikdash. The last pasuk of Shmais begins with Galus and it ends with Anan Hashem, that the cloud of Hashem was resting on the Mishkan. That's redemption. We're not called, even when they came out of Egypt, so says the Rambam, even when they came out of Egypt, and even when they were free and they received the Torah, the Gula was not yet, it's not called that the redemption was complete. The completion is redemption was then when the Shekhinah was resting on Am Yisrael. That's called Gula for Am Yisrael because that's how Am Yisrael has to be.
Oh, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean that they actually had to come to Israel. According to what you're saying, they could have stayed in Sinai.
It's a very good point what you're saying. With our Zionistic influence and understanding, something is missing in Sefer Shmos. We have a problem. Because the whole Sefer Shmos is the Gula, and it doesn't finish till the end of the Gula, so it should have finished, and we don't have the coming to Eretz Yisrael, and all Chamisha Chum Shetayr wouldn't have it. So how could it be? If it's such an important thing, how could it be that it's not in the Torah? It didn't become part of it. It's first in Sefer Yeshua that coming to Eretz Yisrael. So this proves that redemption is a spiritual concept, and it's not a geographical location. You can be in Israel and you're in exile, and you can be in Midbar Sinai and you're redeemed. Because redemption, the definition of Gula is the Hashros Hashchina on the Mishkan. You can have the Beis HaMikdash and there's no Hashros Hashchina, you're in Golus. And that's what happened at the time of Yavam. You can have the Mishkan in the Midbar because it's not dependent. It's Gula for Am Yisrael is the relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Shekhinah resting upon them. And the definition of Gula, the Ramban gives the definition of Gula, he says, they're not called Nik'olim ad shehisigu ma'alat avotam, till they reach the Maila of their fathers. And what's the Maila? The quality, the positive qualities of their fathers, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And what are the specific qualities about their father? Ha'avos hein ha'merkava. The Avos were the Merkava L'Shechina, means they were the chariot of the Shechina. Everything the Shechina wanted, their whole essence was to do the Ratzon Hashem. They didn't have any personal, individual Avas Atzmai, love of themselves. They saw themselves as Shluchim, messages to fulfill the will of Hashem in this world, and so the Shechina was resting on them. They were the Mikdash. The Avos were the Mikdash. The Mikdash was like a representative of the Madrege, the level of the Avos in the Am, in the cloud, in the nation as a whole. So Gula is the resting of the Shechina, and that's the last pasuk. But how is the resting of the Shechina achieved? It is achieved through Asui Mikdash V'Shachanti. So let's get back again. What does this mean on a practical level to us? Let's translate these words to us on a practical level, not leave it abstract. Mishechala Beis HaMikdash, from the time that the temple was destroyed, it's hard to understand the statement of Chazal. Chazal tell us, Ein LaHaKadosh Baruch Hu Ba'ilamai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't have in his world only where, before he had a resting place in the Beis HaMikdash. Where is the Beis HaMikdash when there is no Beis HaMikdash? Where is the Shekhinah to be found? Ein LaHaKadosh Baruch Hu Ba'ilamai Ela Dalid Amois Shel Halacha Bilvad. In those places with people, no matter what their level is, toil to understand the Rashi, to understand the Tosfos, what's the Kasha of Abaye, and what's Rav's Teretz. That's called Dalet Amish Lamocha, and that's where the Shekhinah is, and that's the Beis HaMikdash. That's the Beis HaMikdash, and that's what will rebuild the Beis HaMikdash. Ameila Shel Torah, like it says in the Siddur, the Talmud Torah Keneged Kula. Eilu Dvorim Shel Elohecha Peroseim B'Olam Hazeh, V'Keren Kayemes L'Olam Habo. And Talmud Torah is against all of them. Now how? Now it says like this: Sholosh Matonas Tovos, 3 gifts Hashem gave to Am Yisrael. One of them is Torah, and Torah can only be achieved through Yisur, through suffering, through Yisuri Golus. One can't achieve Torah without Yisur. Since Torah is a matana ruchni, it's a spiritual gift. This spiritual gift can only be achieved with reduction of the guf. There's all the Yisurim that a person has helps him for Torah. Now, I just finished with one more statement. Yisurim, the stipler says like this. Yisurim are fixed. They're nigza from Hashem. They don't come approximate. And when a person suffers to learn, he's giving nothing of himself, because the Yisurim are nigza. So whatever he takes upon himself, he suffers lack of sleep, whatever it might be, a headache, he's not in the mood to learn, he puts in his full energy to understand something, all those difficulties, he's not sacrificing anything. Because Hashem measures those difficulties and takes off. He would have to have those difficulties anyway. The Yisurim that a person has to have are measured to an exact point. Because the Gemara says that if a person puts his hand, and what's called Yisurim, he puts his hand in his pocket, and he wants to take out 3 coins, and he takes out 2 coins. So now he has to put his hand in his pocket again to take out a 3rd coin. Even that's Yisurim. So they're measured al chut hasayru. On a hairbreadth, the Yisurim are measured. So when a person takes upon himself suffering, because he makes it difficult, in other words, he learns in spite of the difficulties, he didn't take anything upon himself. Because Hashem takes those difficulties, he counts them, he measures them with his scale of measuring suffering. All right, he suffered here for Torah, nothing. On the other hand, he gets all the merits for Yisurim. Any Yisurim have merits, but here, since he chose it and gave it for Torah, it's as if so he has all his Torah is a totally different Torah, because it says, one time learning with pain is like 100 times learning without pain. In other words, if you learn 1 page Gemara, and it was very, very difficult for you to learn with that 1 page Gemara, and somebody else was in a good mood and had a clear head, and he learned also that 1 page Gemara. So it looks like in this world he learned 1 page and he learned 1 page, but it's not true. He learned the one that had difficulties, even though it looks like he learned 1 page, he learned 100 pages. And the other one learned 1 page. So when you suffer for Torah, it's multiplied by 100. And Torah is redemption of Klal Yisrael, because that's the Ashras HaShechina, and that's the redemption. The purpose of all the mitzvahs are to bring a person to Kedusha to learn Torah. And Torah can only be achieved through Yisurim. And that was the Yisuri HaGolas as well. The whole purpose of the Yisurim, the suffering in Egypt, was to prepare Am Yisrael, to make them as a nation fitting to receive the Torah at Hasinai. And specifically, the vision that Hashem revealed himself to Moshe Rabbeinu was at Har Sinai. When Moshe Rabbeinu saw Hasneh Bo'er Veinenu Ukav, that the sneh is burning and it's not eaten up. The Mefarshim explained that one of the messages in this vision is it's referring to all the tzoros of Golus, all the tzoros of Golus of Klal Yisrael. That Klal Yisrael will be burnt, but they won't get burnt up. That the hepech, the opposite. The Yisurim of Klal Yisrael keep them as Klal Yisrael. And this vision was showed at Har Sinai, because through those Yisurim, Am Yisrael stands loyal to the Torah. The whole Torah, they were Zeicha, they merited because Yisurim, and they continue their kesher with the Torah through their Yisurim. The Yisurim of Golus don't push Am Yisrael away from the Torah. It's not in spite of the Yisurim, but it's through the Yisurim that Am Yisrael remains connected to the Torah. And all the Yisuri Golus prepare Am Yisrael for the Asid Lavai, when Mashiach will come as well. There will be revealed the secrets of Torah which were not revealed before. Because that's how the Rambam ends his book. And he says, Mashiach will be all the secrets of the Torah will be revealed. And those secrets of the Torah, how they will be revealed, they depend as well. Torah can only be acquired through Yisurim. Like the Yisurim of Egypt, they prepared Am Yisrael to receive the Torah of Har Sinai, all the Yisurim of Klal Yisrael of Golus, and as well on an individual level, they prepare a person to receive the secrets of the Torah. So the message is, a person himself as well, Chayev Odom Lirasas Atzmoi Ki'ilu Hu Yotzo Mitzrayim. Like there's a historical Yetzias Mitzrayim, every person has his own individual Yetzias Mitzrayim in his own life. Yetzias Mitzrayim is to be Makabel B'Torah through Yisur. That's Yetzias Mitzrayim. So the amount that a person accepts upon himself, that he's ready to fight with his Yetzer Hara and to learn, that's Yetzias Mitzrayim, and that's Gula, and that's Hastem Boyer Veinenu Ukal, that's the Kabbalah Sater Sinai, and that's what these pashas are about, because these are the pashas of Golus and Gula. So specifically in this time of the year, from the Arizal, it's not Shuvu, but Shoivavim, it's a special time of Tshuva. The Tshuva has to come through a Meilush of Torah, that's the Dalam Shel Allah L'Shchim Vest.
Go ahead.